Hey guys, how are you today? Quick rant before we dive into today's chaos. As some of you might have noticed, YouTube's algorithm has decided I'm not special anymore. Shocking, I know. So now if you don't like, comment, or do a little backflip in the algorithm's honor, this video might just vanish into the void, never to be seen again. Seriously though, even a hi or "this is wild" in the comments helps way more than you think. It tells YouTube, hey, people actually like this channel. Maybe don't hide it from everyone. That can really help push my videos out to a wider audience, not just to my subscribers. So if you enjoy these stories and want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Now grab a drink, get comfy, and enjoy the drama. You won't want to miss this one. Hi people of Reddit. This is a long one, so buckle up. I, Gigi, 29 female, have been married to my husband, Chris, 32 male, for about 5 years now. We have a really loving relationship, and honestly, I have nothing to complain about when it comes to our marriage. Chris is sweet, funny, and always makes me feel supported. I also got really lucky with his family because they are all genuinely kind and compassionate people. Well, most of them. The one exception is his younger sister, Noah, 27 female. Now, don't get me wrong, she's not the worst person in the world or anything, but she can be really entitled sometimes, and I've always thought she was kind of a spoiled brat. However, since it never really affected me directly, I never cared that much. Like, yeah, she'd throw tantrums when she didn't get her way, and sometimes she'd act like the world revolved around her, but I just ignored it. Not my problem, right? Well, that was until last week. Chris and I were invited to Noah's engagement announcement party. It was a pretty big deal because she had been waiting for this moment forever. She's always been the type of girl who dreams about fairy tale weddings, princess dresses, and being the center of attention. So when her boyfriend, now fiancé, proposed, she made sure the whole world knew about it. She went all out with the party planning, fancy decorations, a massive cake, and a whole professional photo shoot. You would have thought this was the actual wedding with how much effort she put into it. Anyway, when Chris and I arrived at the party, I immediately noticed something weird. Noah was wearing a dress. Not just any dress, a dress I owned. At first I thought, that's funny. I have a dress just like that. She looked stunning in it. It was a really nice dress, simple but elegant. I had worn it to a wedding a few months ago, and I remembered getting a lot of compliments on it, but I still didn't understand how Noah had the same one. I walked up to her with a big smile and congratulated her on her engagement. I also told her she looked beautiful because, well, she did. But then she hit me with the most unexpected response. She smirked and said, "You should thank yourself for that." I was confused. "What do you mean?" I asked. That's when she very casually told me that she took the dress from my closet. At first, I thought she was joking. Like, haha, good one, Noah. But no, she was dead serious. She just straight up admitted that she went into my closet, took my dress, and wore it to her own engagement party like it was the most normal thing in the world. I was standing there trying to process what I just heard. And before I could even say anything, one of her friends pulled her away. I turned to Chris and asked him if he heard what his sister just said. He looked confused and said no. I told him right there at her engagement party that she had literally stolen my dress from my closet. Not borrowed, not asked for. Just straight up took it without permission. That's stealing, right? I wasn't overreacting here. She went into our home, into my closet, and took something that didn't belong to her. And it wasn't just some random old dress. I love that dress. It was expensive, something I bought for myself as a little treat. Chris sighed and said we should talk about it after the party was over. I was annoyed, but didn't want to make a scene. So I said, okay. But the whole night I couldn't stop thinking about it. Every time I saw her laughing with her friends, dancing, taking pictures, and just having the time of her life in my dress, my blood boiled. I was standing there in some other outfit I had picked out for the night, watching her parade around in something that belonged to me like it was nothing. We didn't get a chance to talk to Noah for the rest of the night. Between all the guests, the speeches, and the general chaos of the party, she was constantly surrounded by people. And honestly, I didn't trust myself to bring it up in a calm way. So I waited. When we got home, I told Chris that we absolutely needed to talk to her about this. He agreed. He wasn't happy about it either. He didn't like the idea of his sister just walking into our house and taking my things. He said he would back me up when we confronted her. I woke up the next morning still mad. I knew Noah had always been entitled, but this was a whole new level. Who just takes someone's stuff like that without asking? It's like she genuinely believed she was entitled to anything she wanted. Later that day, she showed up at our house to return the dress, and I was not prepared for what I saw. The dress was ruined. I don't mean just a little worn out. I mean it looked like it had been through a war. There was a stain on it. The fabric was stretched in weird places, and one of the delicate straps was completely torn. It looked like she had been rolling around in the dirt all night. I stared at it in shock. I asked her what happened. She casually shrugged and said it was too delicate and that I shouldn't buy such delicate dresses if I don't want them to get ruined. I swear I almost lost it right then and there. I asked her if she was joking. First, she steals my dress and now she's returning it in pieces, acting like it's my fault for owning a delicate dress in the first place. She didn't apologize, and I didn't see any remorse on her face. Just her usual smug attitude. I told her that this wasn't okay. She had no right to take my things without asking. And now she's handing me back a destroyed dress like it's nothing. And this girl had the audacity to say it wasn't her fault. She acted like I was being ridiculous for even caring, as if I were some materialistic lunatic for being upset over a piece of clothing. I told her the dress wasn't even her size to begin with. That's probably why it got ruined, as it was stretched out in places that it wasn't meant to be. And then she put on this huge dramatic act. She gasped and acted all offended, saying she couldn't believe I was body-shaming her. How is that body-shaming? I was just stating a fact. The dress was tailored to my size. It wasn't made for her. That's why it didn't fit properly. That's why it got ruined. How does that turn into me being some kind of villain attacking her body? I told her she was being ridiculous, but she just kept going on about how I was acting heartless and mean, and how she didn't need to stand here and be insulted. And then before I could say anything else, she just stormed out like she was the victim in all of this. Chris was standing there the whole time watching this unfold. He looked exhausted. I turned to him and asked, "Do you see what I mean now?" He nodded. He finally got it. I was furious. I just stood there holding my ruined dress, trying to figure out what to do next, because one thing was for sure. This wasn't going to slide. I was furious, just absolutely done with her nonsense. But what Noah didn't know was that Chris and I had actually planned on surprising her with a gift. Something big. We had been planning to pay for a trip to Miami for her and her fiancé. Flights and accommodation was included in that. It wasn't anything crazy luxurious, but it was still a really nice getaway. The whole thing cost us around $5,000. Chris and I had talked about it weeks before. We thought it would be a nice engagement gift, something special for her and her fiancé to celebrate this new chapter in their lives. We had been saving up, and even though it was a bit pricey, we figured it was worth it. After all, despite her being a bit of a spoiled brat, she was still family. We wanted to do something nice for her. But after this, after she had the audacity to steal my dress, ruin it, and then act like I was the bad guy, nope, not happening. I turned to Chris right then and there and said, "We're not paying for anything." I could tell he was exhausted by all of this. He wasn't super close to Noah, but he had always tried to be a good older brother. He wanted to keep the peace to avoid drama, but even he couldn't deny that she had crossed the line. Still, he hesitated. "You sure about this?" he asked, "because this is going to cause a lot of drama." I already told her fiancé about the gift at the engagement party. That stopped me in my tracks for a second. He had already told her fiancé. That meant her fiancé was probably excited about it. He was expecting this trip. He was probably already planning for it, talking about it with Noah, maybe even thinking about what they were going to do in Miami. That made things more complicated. But still, I didn't care. "She doesn't deserve it," I said. "Not after what just happened." Chris thought about it for a second, then said, "Okay." And that was that. I wasn't about to spend $5,000 on someone who couldn't even say a simple sorry. I mean, seriously, if she had just apologized and said, "Hey, I messed up. I shouldn't have taken it without asking, and I should have been more careful," then maybe I would have let it go. I would have still considered giving her the trip. But instead, she doubled down. She made it my fault. Nothing much happened after this for about a month. Noah got completely wrapped up in wedding planning, which honestly was a relief. I was still mad, but I wasn't about to go out of my way to keep this drama going. If she wanted to pretend like nothing had happened, fine. Chris and I focused on our own lives. We went on date nights, spent time with friends, and just enjoyed the peace of not dealing with her nonsense for a while. I even tried not to think about the dress situation too much. But every time I saw the ruined mess she returned to me, I got mad all over again. It just sat there in my closet, a sad reminder of how entitled she was. Then about a month later, out of nowhere, Noah excitedly called Chris. Her fiancé must have told her about the Miami trip. She was calling to thank Chris and get the details about the trip. She probably thought we were just waiting for the right moment to officially give her the surprise. Chris, to his credit, stayed calm. He simply told her flat out that the trip wasn't happening anymore. She was shocked. She asked why. She genuinely had no clue why we wouldn't be spending thousands of dollars on her anymore. Chris didn't sugarcoat it. He told her that after what happened with the dress, the only thing she was getting from us was a gift off her wedding registry. That's when the waterworks started. She immediately started crying, like full-blown meltdown. She was sobbing and asking why he was doing this to her, saying she was his little sister, that he was supposed to love and support her no matter what. And then, of course, she turned it all on me. She started yelling that this was all my fault, that I had manipulated Chris into doing this, that I was being cheap and petty over a stupid dress. Chris didn't budge. He calmly told her, "These are the consequences of your actions." She tried arguing more, but when she realized she wasn't getting anywhere, she just snapped. "This isn't over." And then she hung up on him. Chris sat there for a moment staring at his phone. He told me everything that happened, and I asked him if he was okay with it. He said yes, but I could tell it was bothering him. And honestly, that made me feel bad. Not for Noah. I still think she didn't deserve the trip, but for Chris, because at the end of the day, she is his sister, and even though he knew she was in the wrong, I could see that it hurt him to have this kind of tension with her. So now I don't know what to do. Do I just let it go? Do I try to talk to Noah myself? Do I do something to make Chris feel better about all this? What should I do? Not the a-hole. She stole OP's dress, ruined it, and then tried to flip the script by calling a size reality check body shaming. That's entitlement. OP was right to cancel the Miami gift. Rewards shouldn't follow violations. OP needs to change the locks, revoke her emergency key, document photos of the damage, and send a polite but firm message. Replace, repair cost, or no further generosity. Boundaries aren't cruelty, they're consequences. And now, let's hear community's opinion. Not the a-hole, but make it official. Stop handling this verbally. Itemize. Original dress cost plus alterations, plus cleaning, repair estimate. Email, not text. Noah and CC Chris so there's a record. Give a clear payment deadline. If she refuses, small claims court is tailor-made for this kind of thing. And no, you don't owe her a $5,000 vacation to keep the peace. Peace without accountability is just appeasement. Everyone sucks here light for the family, not the a-hole for you. You handled it calmly, waited until after the party, didn't cause a scene. A plus. Noah, theft, plus zero remorse, plus weaponized tears. Massive F. Chris, supportive now, but needs to stop keeping the peace when his sister steamrolls you. He should be the one telling her, "You broke trust. Trip is off. Apologize and pay up." Family culture often excuses the golden child. Don't play along. Not the a-hole, and you handled this perfectly. You did absolutely nothing wrong. She stole from you, ruined your property, refused to apologize, and then tried to gaslight you into feeling guilty. Canceling the Miami trip wasn't petty. It was a completely reasonable reaction. People like Noah only learn when their actions have real consequences. You didn't yell, you didn't humiliate her in public, and you still showed restraint by not blasting her behavior to everyone at the party. If anything, you were too kind. Let her play the victim. The people who matter will see the truth. Update. Hi everyone. I just wanted to clear up some confusion because I saw a lot of people asking the same thing. A lot of you were wondering how Noah even managed to get the dress out of our house without us knowing. And yeah, looking back, I probably should have mentioned this in my original post. So, the thing is, Noah has an emergency key to our house. Chris and I gave her the key a while ago. It wasn't supposed to be for casual use. It was meant for actual emergencies, like if something happened while we were away, or if she ever really needed to get in for a legitimate reason. At the time, it made sense. She's family. We trusted her. But clearly that was a mistake. We don't have cameras in the house, which, yeah, I'm seriously considering now. And she must have come over when both Chris and I were at work. She knew exactly where to look, because she had already seen the dress before on my Instagram. I had worn it to an office event a while back and posted a picture. Even at the time, she complimented it a lot. She kept saying how gorgeous it was, how much she loved the color, how it was exactly the kind of dress she had been looking for. I remember thinking it was sweet, but I never in a million years thought she would help herself to it. I mean, who does that? I have complimented my friends' outfits before. I have even joked about borrowing something, but I would never just take it without asking. That's basic human decency. But Noah saw the dress and wanted it, so she just took it. Update 2. So, after everything that happened, Noah didn't say a word to us. Not a single text. No passive-aggressive phone calls. Nothing. Honestly, I thought she was just being dramatic and would eventually get over it. She had her wedding to focus on, and I figured once the stress of planning was over, she'd move on. Chris tried not to dwell on it, but I could tell it was bothering him. Noah has always been spoiled and entitled, but she's still his little sister. No matter how selfish or childish she could be, he never imagined she'd actually cut him out of her life like this. Chris and I, despite everything, still wanted to do the right thing. We bought her a gift from her registry. Nothing extravagant, just something nice. Got dressed up and went to the wedding. I won't lie, there was tension. Even while getting ready, I felt uneasy. Something just didn't sit right with me. But Chris and I had already decided to go. So, I brushed off my anxiety and focused on being civil and supportive. We arrived at the venue, and before we could even take in the decorations or say hello to anyone, we were stopped at the entrance. A member of the venue staff told us we weren't on the guest list. At first, I laughed. I genuinely thought it was a joke or a mistake. I mean, we were family. There was no way Noah would actually uninvite us and not even tell us, right? Chris calmly explained who we were and that Noah was his sister. The staff member looked uncomfortable and said they were under strict instructions not to let us in. My stomach dropped. Chris asked if they could check again. Maybe it was a mix-up. Maybe our names were misplaced. The staff member glanced at their clipboard and said, "Noah specifically said, 'You are not allowed in.'" That was when reality hit. Noah did this on purpose. She never planned to let us in. She let us get dressed up, buy a gift, drive all the way to the venue just to humiliate us. I felt my face burning with embarrassment. People were staring. Some guests walking in glanced at us with confusion, and I could hear whispers. Chris's parents were already inside, so we quickly called them to ask if they knew what was going on. They had no idea. They were just as blindsided as we were. Within minutes, they came outside visibly upset. Chris's mom looked furious. His dad looked like he wanted to scream. They immediately went inside to find Noah and figure out what was going on. A few minutes later, they came back out, and the look on their faces told me everything. Noah was firm. She didn't want us there. Her own brother. Chris's mom was crying. His dad just shook his head, looking completely defeated. They had begged her to reconsider, but she refused. She told them this was her day and that she didn't want to deal with negativity. Chris's own sister banned him from her wedding over a gift. Chris's parents were devastated. They had no idea she was planning to pull something like this. They were embarrassed and heartbroken. His mom kept apologizing to us even though it wasn't her fault. We gave the gift to Chris's parents, asking them to give it to Noah, and left. At that moment, I felt so much guilt. The car ride home was silent. Chris stared out the window, barely blinking. He looked so shocked and hurt, like he was trying to process what just happened. I felt awful. I kept replaying everything in my head, wondering if I had overreacted about the dress. If I had just let it go, would we have avoided all this? Maybe if we had still given her the Miami trip, she wouldn't have been so angry. At a red light, I turned to Chris and apologized. He didn't even look at me at first. Then, after a long pause, he shook his head and said, "This isn't your fault." And I know he meant it. But I also know this hurt him deeply. Chris was always the big brother who protected Noah. He spoiled her, looked out for her, and always made excuses for her behavior. I think a part of him never thought she'd actually turn on him like this. That night, we barely spoke. Chris sat on the couch, just staring at the floor. I knew he wasn't angry. I think he was just mourning the loss of his relationship with his sister. Noah didn't even text him after. No apology. It's been a few days now, and Chris's parents are furious. They told her that what she did was cruel, and now they're barely speaking to her. So now we're just here trying to figure out where to go from here. I know one thing for sure. Noah made it clear she wants nothing to do with us. I don't know how to help Chris feel better. Do you guys have any suggestions? Update 3. So it's been 2 months since the wedding disaster, and I wish I could say things got better. But honestly, it's been a mess. After the wedding, Chris went full no contact with Noah. He was heartbroken, but he said he wasn't going to chase someone who treated him like that. His parents were furious and told her she owed us an apology. She refused. Instead, she doubled down, saying she was just setting boundaries and protecting her peace. A few weeks later, we found out that Noah had been running her mouth about us. Apparently, she told her entire social circle that we ruined her wedding. According to her, we were spiteful and jealous and tried to make the day about us by causing drama over a stupid dress. The same dress she stole and ruined. I thought people would see through her nonsense, but shockingly, some people actually believed her. We started getting weird, passive-aggressive messages from some of her friends and even distant relatives. One of her bridesmaids had the nerve to DM me on Instagram saying, "I hope you're happy you made a bride cry on her special day." Grow up. I ignored it. But then I heard from a mutual friend that Noah was telling people we showed up uninvited and tried to crash the wedding after she politely asked us not to come. I was livid. I wasn't even going to dignify it with a response. But Chris's parents were furious and started calling relatives to set the record straight. It turned into a whole family mess. Noah played the victim again. She told her parents they were choosing me over her and that she didn't feel safe around us because we were toxic. At that point, I was done. Chris was hurt, but he said she's not worth the energy anymore. Even Noah's husband saw the issue and what she had done. He called us and apologized to Chris. Apparently, he had no idea Noah uninvited us and was shocked when he found out. She had told him that we chose not to come because we were still mad over the dress. When he heard the full story from Chris, his in-laws, and other family members, he realized Noah had been lying to him too. But Noah wasn't one being dramatic. About a week ago, almost 2 months after the wedding, we got a package in the mail. It was the wedding gift we had sent Noah, a fancy espresso machine. There was a note inside that said, "I don't accept gifts from fake family. Please use the refund to buy yourself some class. I have never been so close to committing a crime in my life." Chris read the note, took the gift card, and just snapped it in half. He didn't say a word, just calmly walked to the trash can and dumped it. That was the moment I knew he was 100% done with her. Update 4. So, after months of no contact, Chris's mom decided to play peacemaker. She called me one day and said she was planning a family dinner to ease tensions between Chris and Noah. She said she couldn't stand seeing her kids like this and hoped that if they sat down and talked, they could start mending things. Chris wanted no part of it. The moment I mentioned it, he just shook his head and said, "Nope, not happening." He didn't want to see Noah, didn't want to hear her excuses, and sure as hell didn't want to pretend like everything was fine. But I knew he was hurting. He might have been putting on a strong front, but deep down I could see it bothered him. They hadn't spoken in months. I told him, "Go. Not for her, but for yourself. Say what you need to say and let it out. If she acts like a brat again, at least you'll know you tried." He agreed. So we went and it was a disaster. We arrived at the restaurant and Noah was already there, sitting with her husband and looking as smug as ever. She didn't even greet us, just smirked and sipped her drink. Chris's parents were nervous wrecks. His mom kept making awkward small talk. His dad was silent, and I could tell they were both praying that this night wouldn't end in another family war. We sat down, ordered food, and for a while, things were weirdly quiet. Noah acted like nothing had ever happened. She was laughing, cracking jokes, talking about her honeymoon, completely ignoring the giant elephant in the room. Finally, Chris's mom cleared her throat and said, "Noah, I think you owe your brother an apology." And just like that, the switch flipped. Noah rolled her eyes and sighed dramatically. "Oh my God, are we still talking about this?" Chris, who had been quiet the entire time, just looked at her and said, "You kicked me out of your wedding, Noah. You humiliated me in front of everyone. And for what? Because we didn't give you a free vacation." Noah leaned back in her chair and scoffed. "Wow, way to twist the story. You and Gigi were being toxic. I didn't want that energy on my special day." I swear Chris almost lost it right there. "Are you serious? You stole from us, Noah. You took She's dress without asking, ruined it, and then blamed her when we decided not to drop $5,000 on you. You lied to your friends about us. You made us look like the bad guys, and then you had the audacity to send back our wedding gift with a Starbucks gift card, like some petty middle schooler." "Oh, so that's what this is about," Noah snapped. "A stupid dress. You guys are ridiculous." Chris's mom was trying to calm things down, but at this point, it was over. Chris looked her dead in the eye and said, "You're not my sister anymore." The whole table went silent. Even Noah looked a little shaken. But then, in true Noah fashion, she doubled down. She turned to Chris's parents and said, "Are you hearing this? Your son is actually choosing her over me." And Chris's dad, who had barely said a word all night, just shook his head and said, "Noah, you did this to yourself." That was the final straw. Noah stood up, grabbed her purse, and stormed out. Her husband followed, looking beyond embarrassed, and just like that, she was gone. Chris's mom looked like she was about to cry, and his dad just sighed and muttered, "Well, that went great." We left soon after. Chris didn't say much on the way home, but when we got there, he just sat down and said, "I'm done for real this time." At this point, Noah is out of our lives. She doesn't think she did anything wrong. She never will. And that's not something I or Chris or even his parents can change. So, we're moving on for good. Thanks for following along, Reddit. Update 5. Hey Reddit, I just wanted to give one last update and finally put this whole mess behind us. After the disaster of that family dinner, Chris and I decided that we were officially done with Noah. No more trying to fix things. No more hoping she'd change. Chris blocked her and we moved on with our lives. A few weeks later, she texted Chris from a new number. At first, it seemed like she wanted to apologize, but that illusion shattered quickly. She said she missed him and wanted to talk things out. Chris didn't even bother responding. He just blocked the new number. His parents have been struggling with all this, but even they have started to see Noah for who she really is. We still talk to them and visit, but we made it clear we're not dealing with Noah anymore. And honestly, it feels good. For the first time in months, Chris is at peace. He's not carrying the weight of a one-sided relationship anymore. I'm glad I stood my ground, and I'm even prouder that Chris finally put himself first. So, that's it. Noah is out of our lives, and we are so much better for it. Thanks for all the support, Reddit. This will be my last update because, as far as we're concerned, this chapter is closed.